So, tomorrow's my birthday. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am because it's none of your damn business. And I don't want you running around telling everybody how old I am. But I will say this. Based on my experience and observations, I've concluded that Joe Biden is too old to be president of the United States. I say that reluctantly, but I believe it's true. I've also reached the conclusion, again with great reluctance and some degree of sadness, that Donald Trump is too young to be president of the United States. So I have decided to seek the nomination of the Goldilocks Party as a person who is right there in the sweet spot. Old enough, but not too old. So I would be seeking your support if you agree with me on this all imperative issue about the importance of age in terms of being president. And so please send me money. And no small bills, please, please. That's insulting to a man of my age and integrity and intelligence experience. I want large checks, and not the kind that go bouncing around the floor. I want large certified checks so that I can launch this campaign for the appropriateness of age as it relates to the presidency of the United States. I am the only one of the announced candidates who is old enough to be president, but not too old. So, thank you for your cards and your letters. I'm kidding. I'm not the least bit interested in your cards and your letters. Thank you for your checks. Okay, now that we've just taken care of that issue, I want to run something by you. Normally, I'm not a believer in conspiracy theories. I hate them because there are people who say, "Well, this could happen, so it did." So I've been trying cases for a long time, and one thing I insist on is that you don't say anything, whether it's in court or out of court, unless it's admissible evidence. No hearsay, no statements without foundation, but reliable evidence that establishes whatever point you're trying to make. I'm going to deviate from that this time. And I'm telling you that because it is I have a theory, and it's just a theory. I don't have facts, so I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying I believe that it may be true. And that has to do, with this Gaza situation. I just found out that, lo and behold, the Israeli government knew for over a year that Hamas was planning this attack that they did on October 7th. For over a year, they had that information. So the explanation as to why they did nothing, from what I've heard on the news anyway, is, well, the government, all of the people who were responsible for securing Israel, that they really did not expect that Hamas would follow through on this. They said that was more like just wishful thinking on the part of Hamas. Wouldn't it be great if they could do all of these things? They never really intended to do them, and they never had the wherewithal, and that's why Israel just ignored it. I don't believe that. First place, that just seems incredible to me. They know that Hamas has weapons. They know they've been getting weapons from Iraq, and if they didn't know that, then they are really hurting in terms of their security apparatus. But I'm pretty confident they did know that. But why? Because historically, Israel has known full well. And let's face it, Israel has eye in the sky surveillance. All this technology they got from the United States, which allows them to spy on Hamas anywhere and everywhere, except actually probably not underneath the ground in those tunnels. But anything which is transported in terms of armament that gets into, they know about that. So they knew that they had arms. And they had to be aware that they had the capability of using those arms. And they knew they had rockets because they've been shooting their rockets down for the Iron Dome forever now. I remember when one of my clients was actually the person who was fundamentally responsible for inventing the Iron Dome. So this is it's just incredible that they would have just assumed that they couldn't do anything about it. I think they knew about it. And here's where the speculation gets in. I think Netanyahu, who I really believe is an evil person, I think Netanyahu, Bibi, actually wanted this to take place, and that's why they did nothing to stop it. Why would he want that to take place? Because, in my opinion, and I talk about from the river to the sea, and usually that's supporters of Israel who accuse those people who support Hamas, and they say from the river to the sea that's a Palestinian chant, which means they should basically wipe out all the Jews, and so that the Palestinians could then own all the land from the River Jordan, which is chilly and cold, all the way over to the Mediterranean Sea, from the river to the sea. And that's what, when the Palestinians say from the river to the sea, are you okay, little guy? Okay. Yeah. That was my little boy. Sometimes he makes noises like, and sometimes he gets a little upset to his stomach. I think he's going to be okay. If I abruptly end this, it will be because I got to take care of my little pride and joy here. So that's what when the Israelis complain about the anti-Semitism of people calling for chanting from the river to the sea, that's how they're interpreting that phrase. That's not how I interpret it, nor as I have heard it interpreted. When Bill Clinton was trying to negotiate a settlement, a two-state solution, this river to the sea was a sticking point on both sides. Israel didn't want a river to the sea, Palestine. The Palestinians were insisting on it. They didn't mean by river to the sea the extermination of Israel. What they were talking about was a land bridge, maybe just a highway, that was one of the proposals, connecting the West Bank, which is to the east of Jerusalem, ironically, but it's on the west bank of the River Jordan, to connect that West Bank, which is a site of a lot of bad goings on right now, to Gaza, with a bridge across the two, so that they would have one country. And Israel said there's no way in hell, and the Palestinians said, and negotiators said, without that, there's no deal. So that's the thing, broke down over this river to the sea land bridge. It had nothing to do with exterminating or eliminating Israel. The irony is, Bibi, and these days the Israeli government, and I don't know why so many liberal Jews in this country, Democrats, are supporting what Bibi is doing, when I know that they don't support him generally, and they do hold him responsible for so much of the strife that's going on in that part of the world. But on this issue, they're like, oh no, Israel has no choice. Well, of course they have a choice. You don't have to bomb children. And if you do, then there's something wrong with your objective. But so here's what happens. Bibi has been forcefully trying to do everything he could to shove these Palestinians in Gaza. They crammed them into this tiny little space there, and they have a population of 2 million, over 2 million Palestinians living in this tiny little area. The entire area is approximately twice the size of Washington, D.C. And most of the people in that are living in Gaza City, not spread out all over the place. Or we're living there. They don't live there anymore because Bibi has destroyed it. So he shoved them over there. In the meantime, he's been supporting these settlers in the West Bank who have been engaged, particularly this last summer, in a coordinated, ongoing attack on the Palestinians living in the little Palestinian villages and Palestinian homes. They've been attacking these people and killing these people in an attempt to drive them out of there. And Bibi's been supporting that. So you've had that going on in the West Bank, and that's going to explode one of these days. It's already getting out of hand, and these settlers are still doing this. So he's supporting these people who are attacking the Palestinians in the West Bank. There's approximately 3 million of them. In the meantime, he's got the people in Gaza all lined up, all fenced in. This basically, it's been called the largest open air prison camp in the world. And he wants to get rid of those people because he wants his view is Israel, not Palestine, Israel from the river to the sea. He wants to get rid of the Palestinians once and for all, so that the entire area there can be Israel. So what do you call that if you want to get rid of or exterminate an existing population in order to achieve an objective, which essentially amounts to wiping those people out? That's called genocide, and that's what he's up to, in my opinion. And so this attack on October, that was not an attack which threatened the existence of Israel. They weren't attacking Jerusalem. They were not attacking any major Israeli city. They were attacking some of these, again, settlements, and many of those settlements are settled by religious fanatics who want to basically make sure that the Palestinians can never get into that area because they're claiming it as Israel because it was given to them, by God. Just like the movie Exodus, which actually is a good movie and a great song. But I don't want to get into that. So this is why those people are there. That attack was against the people living in those villages and kibbutzes, which were sparsely populated, and were right there on the border between Gaza and Israel. They weren't in Tel Aviv. They weren't in Jerusalem. They were not in any major cities, and they in no way threatened the existence of Israel. Only 1,200 people were killed. How can you say only 1,200? That's a horrible thing. 1,200 victims, many of them women and children, and 200 and some hostages. Yeah, that was horrible. Those are the actions, the vicious, vile actions of psychopaths. Who takes a 3-year-old little girl as a hostage? Yeah. Who cuts off the head of a civilian with a rake? I mean, this was disgusting what they did. But it wasn't an existential threat to Israel. It was just a horrible thing to do. But Israel has the third largest, I don't know if they still do, but they did at one time, have the third largest air force in the world. We were first, Russia second, Israel third. They have massive tank battalions that are now in Gaza shelling they were shelling the hospital with tanks. Hospitals with tanks. They have rockets. Of course, the Palestinians have rockets too. I mean, the Hamas has rockets too. The difference is, we gave Israel an Iron Dome, which almost renders the Hamas rockets as useless. Well, guess who doesn't have an Iron Dome? The people of Palestine. So they're helpless when Israel rains these rockets down on top of them, when Israeli jets drop bombs, and you've seen the results all over television. They have no defense. They're just helpless. They're unarmed. They have nothing to do to protect themselves against Israeli tanks, against Israeli rockets, against Israeli jets. And Israel has a large, well-trained, well-equipped, standing army. Hamas is not an army. Hamas does not have an army. They don't have any uniformed troops. They have very little command and control. Which is one of the reasons that attack got out of hand. That's one of the reasons that many hostages are being held by groups and people that have no role in Hamas at all, because this is all basically a disorganized gang of thugs. Now they have tunnels, but they don't have anything that amounts to a full-blown army. Israel does. So that attack was not threatening the existence of Israel, even though we hear that all the time, and it's ridiculous. It's wrong, it's a lie, it's propaganda, and it's intended by Bibi. He puts that out there to justify what they're doing. And what they're doing is essentially destroying the population of Gaza altogether. They've destroyed Gaza City. They've destroyed hospital. They're starving people. People can't get water. And now the water, they're talking about there's going to be a huge outbreak of disease because the water they do have is filthy. So the never, and then they're telling these people, we were, I've heard these defense ministers, we were trying to save the lives of innocent Gazans. We told them, get out of Gaza City, get out of the northern part of Gaza, because we're going to bomb the hell out of it, and we're giving you the opportunity to save your life. So we saw on the TV hundreds of thousands of people walking on highways to escape what Israel, with Bibi, I'm going to quit calling it Israel, what Bibi Netanyahu was doing to northern Gaza, fleeing. Now that they fled, the latest thing that it came out since the pause is paused, and they're going to resume the bombing. And so now they're telling the people in Gaza, well, now we want you to move from this place over to that. They're like little chickens with their heads cut off, running them all over the place. Well, let's go from this spot in southern Gaza over to that spot in southern Gaza, and then tomorrow we're going to tell you to leave that spot and go over to this spot in southern. And these people have nothing. They have no transportation. They don't have food. They barely have the clothes on their backs. They're carrying little children. This is the horrendous thing that they're doing. And what's going to happen when this war, which is not a war because you don't have an army of Hamas, you don't have a navy of Hamas, you don't have an air force of Hamas, you don't have tank battalions of Hamas, and Hamas is not in Israel. What you have is the Israeli army, and all this massive military equipment that we've given them is being used primarily on civilians. And this is where I get into the theory, which is, my theory is that this is what Netanyahu wanted. He wanted that attack to take place, so he would then have an excuse to do what he's doing, which is basically making it impossible for the people of Gaza to survive. And once he does that, and the aftermath of the war is going to be, you wait and see. What Israel is going to do after that is they're going to occupy militarily the entire Gaza region. They're going to because they've said they're going to do it, but they're going to do it in such a way which is going to basically involve just taking what's left of the Gaza's people, dissipating them, sticking in camps, and letting them die. So that's, in my opinion, that's what this Bibi let this happen. He wanted it to happen because he was looking for an excuse to really go in there and just commit genocide against the people in Gaza. And you watch what's going on in the West Bank, because that's ticking up there too. And he's going to use that. He's going to use some incident in the West Bank as an excuse to go in there and do the same thing in the West Bank that he's done in Gaza. And then he's going to have his dream come true. Israel, from the river to the sea. And if you think that's okay, then you need to examine yourself. Because I don't think it's okay. Francois doesn't think it's okay. And he and I usually disagree on everything relating to politics. And this is politics, make no mistake about it. But it's politics at the worst possible level. The war is politics that's failed. So it's sickening what's happening. I can't prove what I just said. And that's why I said it's a theory, and so I'm not saying it's factually established, but that's how it looks to me. And I think that historically we're going to find out that what I am speculating here is true.